month are going to kind of
Really?
coincide this
They're
year.
going to be ready in
I
July?
think they might be
Oh,
ready
I'll have to
to
check that out.
go down to Eckert's or some of those places down around St. Louis that
Right.
is famous for a lot of Illinois peaches. Joyce Frickery with the St. Louis Dairy Council has been our guest here on Agribusiness Day. Joyce, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Talk about Dairy Month.
thank you.
Joyce Frickery is with us on Agribusiness Day. It's the noon show here on Sports Radio 1450, and Joyce is with the St. Louis Dairy Council celebrating Dairy Month. Good afternoon to you, Joyce.
Good afternoon.
What are we celebrating when we think about Dairy Month here for the month of June? What's kind of the initial focus?
Well, actually, it's a salute to dairy farmers and the dairy industry. It actually began back in 1937 as kind of an awareness thing because typically June was a pretty high production month as far as milk. Cows were out in those green pastures producing lots of milk. It was also typically the time that children were getting out of school. So it just served as a reminder for kids really to make sure you still get your milk in over the summer holiday.
And that's continued ever since.
Ever since 1937, so many, many years now. And it's a great opportunity. Dairy farmers are really hardworking individuals. I think many people don't realize how much work is really involved, and they have to be on the farm. The cows have to be milked at least 2 times a day. So, and there's lots of care that goes into making sure the animals are healthy and producing that wholesome milk.
Vacations to dairy farmers are rare.
I grew up on a dairy farm, and I think I can count on one hand the number of times that we went away. And mind you, it was like a day trip
Yeah.
that we got to go away. So,
There's trips to state fairs and county fairs and things like
I
that.
think one time we went to the St. Louis Zoo, and that, is a wonderful memory for me. So, yeah, not often that they get away. Somebody's got to be there to take care of the
And
animals.
morning and night, and dairies are even something that have disappeared a bit across, especially the Illinois landscape over the past couple of years. We just got a study from the University of Illinois about livestock in the state, and dairies are shrinking. So even people's personal connections to dairies locally are not what they used to be.
I think you're right. And right here in Sangamon County, I don't believe there are two, maybe one or two. I do cover counties throughout central Illinois. Clinton County is a big dairy area, and down there, I mean, you can drive within a mile or, every mile you'll see a dairy farm. But really, you're right. The dairy farms are shrinking in the area, and it's really sad to kind of see that.
It is because it's a good way it's a really nice way for people to stay connected to agriculture that aren't there anymore. And I think there's something special about seeing a dairy and seeing in particular one type of cow, the black and white cow that people associate with
Holstein.
dairy.
Uh-huh.
It's not the only dairy cow available out there, but people think Holstein cows and they think dairies, and seeing the operation or the idea of farm fresh milk or farm fresh cheeses, and it's too bad that in some places it doesn't seem to exist as much.
You're right. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than seeing, a nice green pasture with the cows grazing out there. And I'm so grateful that we have not only milk, but the products that we make with the milk, things like the cheese and the yogurt and the cottage cheese and those types of foods that are available and so nutritious for us and so important for our health.
And shining the spotlight on those products is part of Dairy Month here for the month of June. And it's just not milk and yogurt. I mean, you mentioned cottage cheese. We have sour cream. There are so many aspects of the dairy industry. Then even dairy products are made and created and added into a lot of other things that we eat.
Absolutely. And, things like cheese, it's a great item to add into different casseroles or to soups and things like that. Yogurt can be used for so many things. I use it to make dips. I use it as a replacement oftentimes for things like mayonnaise, which mayonnaise tends to be pretty high in fat content, but using something like a low-fat or fat-free yogurt and just adding in some spices makes it a great dip for some fresh vegetables. Or you can even, make it a little sweeter and use it as a dip for some summertime fruits.
Still, probably the easiest way or the most recognizable way people have dairy in their diet is still by drinking a glass of milk.
That glass of milk, and for most Americans, we need 3 servings every day. And just recently, when they updated the dietary guidelines for Americans, children between the ages of 4 to 8, actually the servings did increase a little bit. The recommendation had been 2, and now it's recommended that they get 2.5 servings every single day. So it is very important, especially during our early years. We need that calcium for strong and healthy bones. But throughout our life, we still need that calcium. It has many important functions in our body. And of course, milk is more than just the calcium. It provides 8 other essential nutrients that we need for health.
Talk about that aspect with kids. If you have a son or a daughter who does not like, though, to drink milk, is there a
Mhm.
conversion? Can you give them a cheese stick? I know, kids love to have string cheese, a cup of yogurt. Is there a way to kind of make a connotation between what a glass of milk is equal to?
Sure, absolutely. You could substitute 1.5 ounces of cheese. So if you can picture in your mind like dice, like a pair of dice, it would
Hmm.
take 4 dice. That amount would be about 1.5 servings of cheese, and that is for a natural cheese like a cheddar cheese or a Swiss cheese. If they like the singles, like the individually wrapped
Hmm.
cheese, I eat that too, and great for grilled cheese sandwiches. It
Yeah.
would take probably about 2 slices of that to equal a serving, and then about a cup of yogurt. But you can also make desserts with milk. If they don't like just plain milk, they might drink a flavored milk. You can try that, or make something like pudding, like as I said, something that you would make with milk. So lots of different ways to include it in the diet. One thing that is also really popular with kids, especially, and I like them too, is smoothies. And you can make that with either milk or yogurt,
Hmm.
and you just blend in some frozen fruit with that. And it's almost like a milkshake, and it tastes great. The kids love it.
And you mentioned flavored milk. There are people who have their issues with chocolate milk or strawberry milk, but uh, it is sometimes the only way. Some picky kids or some children, for whatever reason, will even consume milk or start to add calcium and those essential nutrients into their diet. And you can make a case that chocolate milk fills an important niche for families looking to get their youngsters to consume something healthy.
Absolutely. Kids love the taste of flavored milk, and you still get all the nutrients in there. There's a little bit of extra added sugar, but I mean, milk is a nutrient powerhouse. As I said, 9 essential nutrients provided in a glass of milk. So there are so many benefits with that. And a lot of the dairy industry now has reformulated their flavored milk products so that children at schools have a fat-free product that is unflavored, and they've cut down on the amount of added sugar in there as well. But it's a great option. I think it's a win-win for moms
A lot
because
of different items too, always available. The dairy industry and the dairy food products people are never just one to stop at what we all think exists out there. An item that I've enjoyed over the past couple of years and which seems to be really catching steam is Greek yogurt.
uh-huh. I am amazed every time I look in the yogurt section. There's always either a new flavor or a new brand that is offering Greek yogurt. And I just read recently that we might be seeing Greek yogurt in the frozen section as well.
Hmm.
So, as we have frozen yogurt, we may be having frozen Greek yogurt in the future. But it's a great option. I love yogurt. I eat it oftentimes in the morning for breakfast, or even as a snack. And Greek yogurt is great because it has a firmer texture to it. It's filtered a little bit more, and because of that, also has a higher protein content. And so it's a great source of protein as well.
Is there a way to make your own Greek yogurt, if you will, at home?
I do. I like to buy the large containers of yogurt, and I have a little yogurt strainer. But you can do it without having that. And basically, what you would do is take a colander
Hmm.
and line it with either a coffee filter or a paper towel, and then just put a container under it. Put it in the refrigerator for probably 3 hours, or you can do it overnight, and it just gradually becomes thicker and thicker. People make yogurt cheese that way also. So, yeah, you can definitely do that on your own. And it is a yogurt, Greek yogurt is a little bit pricey. So,
Hmm.
that's one way that you can save maybe a little bit money making your own Greek yogurt at home.
And a way too to maybe try it out at home if you don't want to make that big dive into it when you're at the grocery store. All right, well, a lot of ways to get all these dairy products, Joyce. And another thing is we kind of talked about, unfortunately, fewer and fewer dairies in some parts of the state. But farmers markets have exploded recently, and there's a connection that some people want to make between the food and the farm, and farmers markets in some places is probably a good way to go find a local creamery or a dairy or producers and meet with the people that are making your own food.
Absolutely, and I know here in Springfield, I know a local cheese company used to come. I'm not sure they still do, but There are some little startup cheese companies that do go to farmers markets in St. Louis and here as well. So it is kind of neat to see that.
And one big name throughout the area is ROP,
Hmm.
and they're up around the Bloomington area, and I know
Right.
that they'll host groups and have tours and show off what they do at their dairy farm, and you can find their cheeses in local grocery stores around here, but you know where it's produced, and you can go up and see how it's all made, and just kind of continues that connection between family and farm.
Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity to, and I know they have a store on their farm, on their location. So it's, that's even a great little trip to make sometimes and go visit them on the farm.
And we don't want to forget about ice cream, but ice cream is so special that Dairy Month follow or Ice Cream Month follows Dairy Month.
Absolutely. July is ice cream month. So we always enjoy that too. And this time, I think I'm going to have to make. It's been a while since I made homemade ice cream, but I think I'm going to have to try it. It's really pretty easy, and I see lots of different ice cream makers that are available now. So that's even something easy to do. And there's even a method to make this at home, even if you don't have your own ice cream maker.
Well, that's a memory I have of growing up is making homemade ice cream, and we
Hmm.
had an ice cream maker, and if I remember right, there was like rock salt involved on
Yes.
the outside, and you put the little thing, and it was kind of a wooden pail that we had inside, that sat on the outside of this mixer, and just remember sitting there and kind of staring at it as it turned and
So you
mixed,
had an
and
electric one. Yeah.
thankfully, yes.
Yes, we had a crank one when I was growing up, and of course, the harder it was to turn, the closer you knew you were
Yes.
to having that
Yeah.
ice cream. But yeah, I do. I have wonderful memories of that. I grew up on a dairy farm, and if we did have extra milk, occasionally that's how we would use it, making homemade ice cream. And it's especially great during peach season. I remember
Oh, yeah.
using fresh peaches in there. So great memories of that.
And the Calhoun and Illinois peaches are ahead this year because of the early spring that we've had. So peach season and ice cream month are going to kind of coincide
Really?
this year.
They're going to be ready in July?
I think they might be ready
I'll have to
to
check that out.
go down to Eckert's or some of those places down around St. Louis that
Right.
is famous for a lot of Illinois peaches. Joyce Frickery with the St. Louis Dairy Council has been our guest here on Agribusiness Day. Joyce, thanks for joining us to talk about Dairy Month.
Thank you.